Well, first of all, welcome. My name is Nacho. I work in the athlete development team for IRONMAN. We are having this webinar today. Just like to so you can learn more about Mallorca race. We have with us Stephen Moody. He's a coach for Piranha Triathlon Club, and as well he does a lot of things for triathlon. He also has a YouTube channel, right? And there you have like a lot more of tips and where you can learn more of what he does. With us is gonna be as well Marc Pumes. He's the race director for Mallorca. He's gonna join us later, or I think he's here, but he will jump on later. In order to reply some questions you may have about the race, and of course, Steve. He's also gonna reply any question that you have. So before I start, I would like you to ask if you could put your mic and your camera on mute and off. So we have Steve in spotlight. And if you have any questions, you can of course use the chat or raise a hand, and I will be trying to ask the questions so Steve can answer them. So with this said, Steve, you can start. Thank you.
Okay, Nacho, will you start recording this now, or will?
Yeah, I'm already recording.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to share my screen of a presentation. I'm going to just look at now. Please bear with me. I never really use Teams. I'm more of a Zoom type guy, but I'm sure we'll get away with it. Okay, so here we are. And from the beginning. Okay. All right. Nacho, can you see my slides there, I presume?
Everything looks good. You can make it full screen if it's better for you.
Yeah, I thought I was. Oh, okay. You know this is from the beginning here. Slideshow. See, it's full screen on the other screen. Okay, we'll roll with this. Oh, no, actually, I need to hang on. Why is it doing this for me? 1 second. See, I have a multiple screen setup, which is all very clever and very productive, but it doesn't really work very well when I'm doing Teams. Okay, grand. Sharing, and then we will go from beginning. Open share tray, and we shall go here. Okay, do we have the full screen now, fellas and ladies and gentlemen? Yep,
everything looks good. Yeah,
perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so I will start my timer as I've got this all nicely timed. So, okay, so quick introduction to myself. My name is Stephen Moody, or Coach Steve as my athletes know me. I have been racing triathlon, marathons, etc. for the last 20 years. I've been coaching for 15. I am an Ironman U certified coach. I'm an ITU level 2 coach, and I'm also an active racer. I have done 70.3 Mallorca 3 times. It's one of my favorite courses. And I've also done the full in Mallorca once. I've also done a number of full Ironman, etc., and gone to the World Championships a couple of times. So I'm a coach and an athlete just like you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk you through the next 30 days training, things you should think about nutrition and hydration, equipment and apparel, what will you need, study the route, your mental preparation, preparing to travel and checklist, and then Q&A. Okay, so as Nacho said, please mute your screens and your microphones. We'll pick up the questions at the end between myself and the race director. I'm sure that you'll walk away feeling completely confident in what we need to do for the next few weeks. Okay. your next 30 days training, which will go very quickly, by the way. So what do you need to focus on, or what should you be doing? Okay, in terms of your training phase of the program, we call this the build phase, as in you're getting very race specific. You've done a lot of base slow miles beforehand in your base period, but now it's getting to the pointy end and getting close to the race. So you will be reaching your kind of peak training load in terms of training volume, training hours, and training distances you're going to cover. So what does that mean in terms of and you'll also be doing what I describe as race pace sessions, where you're just normally just going around, completing the distance, building up your aerobic base. In the next few weeks, you should be looking at getting close to kind of race pace numbers on your bike, race pace numbers in your swim sessions, and also out in your run sessions. For your long runs, you will be looking at probably covering 18 to 21 kilometers in a standalone run, depending on your level. On your long bikes, you will be looking at hitting 80 to 90k in your long bikes. And also key here is you'll be doing bricks off these bikes. A brick is when you literally run straight from your bike session into your run session, which simulates what you'll be doing on race day. And you're trying to get your body used to getting rid of what they call jelly legs, where your legs feel a bit funny because they've been on the bike for the last 3+ hours. You also should be looking at fine-tuning your nutrition and your hydration strategies. We'll talk about that in the next session, but essentially how you're going to fuel yourself and how you're going to keep yourself hydrated. You should be testing equipment that you're going to use in the day, so it's not new and not strange when you come to Mallorca. That's your race day helmet. If you're going to use a TT bike, you're going to be used to that. Your wetsuit, etc., etc. And depending where you come from, I'm sorry to the lads in Bolton and Bournemouth, you probably will. It's probably going to be, some people will have the option, the lucky Spaniards, etc., that the water is going to be warm enough that you can get some open water swimming practice in, which is key if you can, getting used to swimming in the wetsuit, etc. However, personally, I know some of my guys have gone over to Mallorca. It's going to be too cold to actually get into the water, so they'll have to do a lot of their practice in the pool, and then a couple of days beforehand when they're in Mallorca, they'll actually be able to train in the actual beautiful ocean you will swim in. Okay, so I have pulled this sample training week from one of my plans I have up on Training Peaks. I'm a big Training Peaks fan. If anybody hasn't used it, it's a cool app that you can buy plans in, you can interact with your coach, and it tells you exactly what to do for your race. So this is what, from one of my intermediate level plans, it was a 24-week plan for a 70.3. So just to give you a flavor of what some of the guys will be doing. Swim wise, they'll have between 3 and 4 sessions. There will be a couple of pool sessions, some of which will be race paced, some of which will be just endurance in terms of just swimming 400s, 600s, 700s in the pool, just to you're used to covering that distance. A bit of speed work as well, which will help on the day. And as I said, if you have the option, you're looking at trying to get into the open water to do a bit of swimming there. Bike-wise, I have my guys doing typically 3 bikes, but one of the key sessions here is a big long bike, or 90k, which is kind of what you'll be doing in the actual race, but with race pace effort. So you'll have a gentle warm up, and then you'll kind of hit the numbers you're looking at, either heart rate, speed, or power, whatever you're going to judge your effort on the day, so you know what it feels like. And again, you do that on the race and your actual race setup. If it's a TT bike, you'll do it then. Run wise, you'd have an easy run, some tempo runs, again, just giving you ability of teaching you some gears rather than just one slow pace. One of the key sessions here is your long run, which again will be a race pace interval, so a gentle warm up, and then you try to hit the target heart rate or the target pace you're going to aim for on the race day for whatever chunk of that. In this session, I think it's around 16k. Again, just teaching your body what it feels like. Other key session is, as you can see here, there's a brick session as well, which is, again, you'd have your bike set up, You park your bike either and then throw on your runners and go for a run at a very easy pace. Now, I don't want anyone to panic, but this is the type of sessions where an intermediate athlete would do. What I want you to take away from this is you will still be swimming in the pool. You will still be doing some run sessions and some midweek bikes. But the key sessions you're looking at are ideally an open water swim if you can, a long bike with a race pace effort, a brick, and then a long run as well. Okay, that's a flavor of the type of training. Now, 2 weeks out is when we start to taper. Taper is essentially where we drop down the volume to a point where we're allowing the body recover. We're allowing the energy levels to come back. We don't need to fit any more real big blocks of training in. It's also a time when you will become incredibly difficult to live with because you're constantly worried about injury, and you believe that every virus is going to get you in terms of like a flu or a cold, anything essentially which will endanger your race, which you've prepared for the last X number of months for. So again, tapering athlete, approach with caution. What will happen in the taper period, and as I said, taper can be as long as 2-3 weeks depending on your level, or even kind of 10 days, etc. The training volume will drop down to around 50-60% of what you were doing at peak. You'll probably have some more rest days. You will have just one session a day. Essentially, you're just ticking over. You're not, as I said, you're not going to build any more fitness in the next in these 2 week period. But what you can do is just kind of allow your body to recover, eat well, drink well, load up on sleep. But the part here that will typically causes athletes' minds to melt is the fact that you've been training so rigidly and structured for the last, 2-3 months. You go like, oh no, I've all this time on my hands. I'm only have to do a 10k run on a Saturday. I've been running up to like 18-20. So there are things that I tell athletes to do to keep themselves busy. I said, look, familiarize yourself with the athlete guide that will be out in a few weeks' time. Check the course reviews, talk to people who've done the course, use the time productively to prepare yourself better on the race day. And by the way, there'll be loads of logistics and packing and stuff to do. We'll talk about that in the final section of the presentation. So that's, as I said, so next 3 weeks and 4 weeks you'll be hitting your peak load, but then you'll come to this beautiful period called the taper period, where essentially you're trying to let the body's energy levels come back up. You're lessening the training just to keep things ticking over. For example, here is the next kind of fade, next week of a taper period. And as you can see, there's only one session a day. Perfect. There's recovery swim sessions. There's recovery run sessions, coffee spins. You might have 1 or 2 kind of a little bit of intensity in the week just to keep things sharp, as in like I typically get a 70.3 actual swim distance, where you actually swim in the sea or you swim in a pool, like the 1.9k swim, just to get yourself a time and also put yourself under a little bit of mental pressure and maybe a little bit of tempo run. So the key thing you take away, taper, is when you reduce the training volume, you allow your body to relax, you allow your body, energy to refill. A key point here is to listen to your body, as in if you wake up and you're feeling really tired and you go like, oh, I can't face doing the 60 minutes easy on the bike, take a rest day. You're not going to get any fitter or any stronger in the last 2 weeks. But what you could be in danger is actually baking in a lot of kind of fatigue, which you don't want come race day. So that's what your next 30 days are going to look like. We're now going to talk about nutrition and hydration. And why is this important? Surely we just need to learn how to swim, how to bike, how to run. No. 70.3 in middle distance, they're a very long distance race. Like, do you have a nutrition or hydration plan? And if you don't, we're gonna use that classic phrase: if you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. If you don't work out how you're gonna fuel yourself in the 70.3, and especially in Mallorca, which is typically a very hot race, how you're going to keep your hydration and your water and your levels topped up. Your wheels will come off your race, I guarantee it. So what should I eat? Now, this is very individual. As I said, people go like, oh, I read the back of this gel, and it tells me if I don't eat 4 of them every hour, I'm not going to complete my Ironman. You need to be a little bit discerning in terms of what you hear from the marketing people and what other people say, like other athletes go, oh, I only eat whatever gherkins on the bike. That might work for them. It may definitely not work for you. It won't work for me. I know that for certain. So you need to test and trial what you're going to work out, what's going to actually work with you, and then what you'll agree with you, what will give you what breaks down into good fuel for you. And this can be anything. I have one guy who, although does make it very cliche, an Irish guy who literally has small salted potatoes, and he takes them on his bike and eats them. He doesn't like sweet things, but he gets carbohydrates and fuel from the potatoes. That works for him. Me personally, I like sweet things, so I will have stuff like Nutrigrain bars. I will have kind of small kind of biscuits, etc. That's what works for me. So you need to test in your next 3 weeks, if you haven't done already, what do you like to eat in the bike? What's easy to eat in the bike? But in terms of what you're looking to achieve, you're trying to get around 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour into your system from multiple carb sources. This breaks down to around 240 to 360 calories per hour. And again, you're just fueling the engine. You're putting fuel in the fire, and you're keeping it ticking over. Now, obviously enough, there's the second half of the equation, which is what should I drink? Again, very individual. Some people cannot stomach Gatorade. Some people love Gatorade. Some people cannot take ESO. Some people can. So you need to figure out what works for you again, and that's your trial and error in your build phase in the next few weeks, if you haven't done it, of your training. I personally know I cannot stomach Red Bull. I made the mistake of thinking it was going to save me on a run in an Ironman, and it had a really, really bad effect on me. But you probably don't need to try something new on race day, which I did. So again, Mallorca is typically a hot race, right? So water is key. And not only is that in kind of keeping your sort of your hydration levels up, but you'll be sweating a lot. You'll lose electrolytes, sodiums, other minerals. So not only do you need to take water, but you also need to take some sort of sports drink, ESO, Tailwind, all these, there's huge amounts of different brands out there. You need to try them, find out, and it might be a case there's certain ones you like the taste of, and you find it works better for you. This is your trial and error. Also, we'll talk a little bit later on, what do they serve at the aid stations? They can change from year to year, but if you actually know that it's going to be Gatorade and you try Gatorade in your training, you go, actually, that's good. I don't have to carry extra bottles because I know they'll be at the aid stations. It's key to drink early and often, as soon as you leave T1 or when you finished your swim and you're out on your bike, and you want to consume around 60 to 90 milliliters per hour. Now, this does not mean that you have to down a bottle every hour. The best strategy is to sip, constantly keep yourself tipping over in terms of your water levels. So you should be sipping as you go. And back to that Tour de France mantra, which goes, drink before you're thirsty, eat before you're hungry. And they also say put on layers before you're cold. But again, trust me, that won't be a big issue with Mallorca. So drinking early and often, but they're the kind of amount of water you want to keep topped up. If you're a heavy sweater, in terms of that will be more. So, and again, these are things you will know. If you know that water just flushes out of you, you need to probably, and you'll go to the higher end, the 900 milliliters per hour. How should I eat or drink? Now, this is not me literally teaching my grandmother how to suck eggs. This is, you have to think about, you're going to be eating on the bike or on the run. So how's that going to work, right? So, and this is, again, a key element of those last long bikes, last long runs. How do you transport your fuel? Are you comfortable taking your water bottle out and so when cycling along and drinking? Where do you store your food on the bike? Is it going to be in a little buoy box, or are you going to put it in the back of your tri-suit? And how do you get it? And have you practiced literally reaching back, taking out your bottle, taking a drink, or reaching back, taking out an energy gel, or taking out a banana and eating it on the way? Practice that now. You don't want that to be something that you're suddenly trying to go, oh, I'm quite unsteady if I only have one hand and I'm holding onto the handlebars. And get used to it. You will be eating a lot, as I said, and often, so be comfortable doing it. There is a bonus. If you're now thinking, oh God, I need to carry 14 bananas with me and 17 water bottles. One of the great things about Ironman races, they have lots of aid stations. You'll know exactly where they are in the athlete guide, because they will typically change, but for example, there's always one at the top of the hill, because people that reach the top of the hill and they're not going that fast. And they have lots of food and water and ESO, and they've got Coke, and they've got all sorts of good things. So you can actually build that into your race day nutrition strategy. Go, okay, this is where I'm going to find it. So you don't have to carry everything. When should you eat and drink? Again, practice in your last long rides, last long runs. But eat by a schedule, as in rather than by hunger or thirst. Back to that point, if you wait till you're thirsty, it's probably too late. If you wait till you're hungry, it's too late. So for me, I actually have an alert set up on my Garmin that will go off every 20 minutes on the bike. I will go eat, and it's a simple enough thing to set up, because that will keep me regimented, because what will happen as well in the race, you'll be out on your bike, there'll be loads of people cheering you, there'll be loads of people on bikes, you're feeling like a rock star, this is dead exciting. And then you look down and go, oh, it's 90 minutes in and I haven't eaten anything and I'm beginning to feel hungry. So have a schedule, and again, it's part of your strategy. Is it going to be distance or time you're going to eat in the bike? For me, it's time. I do switch to distance on the run, where I go every second aid station, I'll take something, or every 4 or 5 kilometers, I'll eat something. But again, have it in your head and then try to stick to it. And the Garmin will set up that, and you can set it up for the Garmin alerts for the run as well. Key takeaways, right? Have a strategy. What you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, how you're going to eat it, etc. And the same with drinking. And practice it, and trial and error, different food types, etc., different storage types. And again, don't get sold by the marketing that you have to drink this or you have to. Certain people, you'll find that your taste buds are different to certain people. Okay. And work out how your equipment's going to work on race day. Do you have rear bottle mounts? Do you have a front hydration system? Is it with just a normal bottle cage? Where are you going to put your food? Is that going to be in the box, or are you going to have it in the back of your tri-suit, etc.? Now, as I said, there's loads more to this about different types and what do's and don'ts. So I do have a video on my YouTube channel. That's at Coach Steve Moody, which goes race day nutrition. It's 30 minutes webinar, talks through a lot more things. I don't have time to go through all that stuff. You could watch it there. If people email me, I will send out that link to them as well. But again, it'll help you refine your own nutrition strategy. Okay. Equipment and apparel. What are you going to need on the day? Now, I've broken this into our classic swim, bike, run, and I've highlighted certain things in bold because they're kind of decision points for me. Right, start off the swim. You're going to need a wetsuit. To my knowledge, there's never been a non-wetsuit swim in Mallorca. The Mark might correct me on that, but yes, a wetsuit. Your goggles. I always bring a spare swim hat. I know Ironman give you swim hats on the day, which you have to wear, but sometimes if the water's a little bit cold, I put on one swim hat underneath it, and I have 2 swim hats on to keep my head a little bit warm. Tri-suit, and I have this in bold because this is a personal choice. If it's your first 70.3 and you're a little bit nervous, some people just prefer to do a whole change in the T1. going from swim to bike into dry cycling comfortable clothes that they've wear beforehand, which is more comfortable but takes a little bit more time. Same with changing from bike to run. They might change into complete new run kit that they're comfortable with. So tri-suit, most people wear them, but you don't have to. If you're not comfortable in a tri-suit, or you want to take time and let that extra bit of comfort when you're going to be a long time on the bike, take that option. Bike. Now, time trial or road bike? I will get asked this question again. Now, a time trial bike is essentially a much more aggressive setup in terms of being more aerodynamic, and you have what they call tri-bars at the front, so it's faster. And if you have it, some people will decide, I don't know whether I'll go on my tri-bike or my road bike. We'll talk a little bit about this in the route later on, but that's a decision you make yourself, and you'll know a bit. I'll talk a little bit about, but that's a decision. Helmet, yes. Shades, cycle shoes, and question mark on socks. You don't have to wear socks, but I always do, because whatever it's quicker just to run and put your cycle shoes on. But if you want to save, you'll save 30 seconds, but you might end up with blisters or very sore feet afterwards. Not worth it, in my opinion. Race belt, where you stick your number on. Hydration and nutrition setup, as we talked about. Where is it? A front-mounted bottle? Is it a rear bottle, etc.? Run, obviously runners. Loctite laces. These are laces that essentially make your shoes into your runners into slip-ons. They do make things faster, but some people might be uncomfortable with them. There's another video on my YouTube channel where I actually trial it, and I won't spoil it, but they're considerably faster. Like, I literally did the same transition as fast as I could with Loctite versus standard laces, and there was quite a difference. Hat, visor, shades if you want it. Socks, but we already have socks on from our bike, Stephen. Yes, but they will be soaking wet from sweat, tears, and whatever you spilt at the aid stations. But have a second pair of socks. There's nothing. It's a wonderful feeling putting nice dry socks in transition in T2, and also it minimizes the risk of blisters on the run course. Race belt if you need a second one from afterwards. Nutrition. Post race, have a nice change of clothes, some way of contacting your family and your friends. Compression gear if you use them. A post race treat. My friend put this in here, and I'm thinking, oh man, but the after tent in Ironman is massive. There's loads of food. There's drinks. There's fruit. There's also, to the weird point where I'm always that full of energy gels and other sweet stuff that I can't actually eat it. But there will be food there. So what I recommend for a post-race treat is bring some money, or because what you'll do is you'll walk out of the tents and you'll end up in all these cool cafes and all your friends are there and all the rest, and you'll just want to sit down and have a beer. So make sure you have that option. Okay. All right. The route. Know your enemy. As I said, I've done the 70.3 3 times and I love it. I would be doing it again this year, but I'm actually doing Ironman Texas this weekend, so I can't make it. But next year. So the swim course is a what you call it, horseshoe. So you're essentially out and back, right? So some advice on this course. Seed yourself correctly. There will be corrals where you are put into, where you get to choose what your expected finish time is. And now this is where everyone gets very cocky and they go, okay, now I know I swim 2 minutes 30 per 100 in the pool, but I'm feeling good. I'm going to put myself in the 30-minute corral. Really bad idea, because you'll be in with some very, very strong swimmers who will swim right over you. So work out your swim time and put yourself in the right corral. It will set yourself up for a nice day. If you're nervous about it, put yourself at the back of the corral. You'll be let in numbers of 5. It's no mass starts anymore, but don't put yourself under any pressure by putting yourself in a swim corral, which you cannot, is way too fast for you. Start swimming early. This is a weird thing about Mallorca. When you go out and you start walking, the sand gets very soft very quickly. And you start sinking into it. So the minute you're kind of waist height dive in and start swimming, because you can lose energy getting sucked into the sand. It's a beautiful swim. The location's cool. The water's beautiful. It's crystal clear. It's a simple course in terms of there's not too many turns or you're not going around things. Like, enjoy it. If you're a nervous swimmer and you're weak, well, the only kind of points that you might get into trouble are around the buoys here. And so if you want to avoid kind of physical contact, that's where it happens. If you go too tight to it, people will be kind of going that area and you might get pushed or pulled and all the rest. So if you want to avoid that, go wide. Yes, you will be a little bit longer, excuse me, but you will avoid any of the upsetting moments. So that's my advice to you on that. Sight and draft as much as possible. Sighting is when you literally lift your head out of the water and see where you're going, and you'll aim for some sort of inanimate, immovable object that you know that you keep going in a straight line. Because it's a simple course, but what you don't want to do is go wide, end up here, or you don't want to overshoot, end up here, because that's adding on distance, which you don't want. So sight, making sure the buoys are in line, and then back in, okay? Drafting is illegal in the swim, and drafting means when you stick behind someone and you let them do break the water, the resistance, and it's actually faster. So if someone's swimming in front of you and you're on their feet, you kind of get 15 to 20% benefit of them doing the work. Lots of swimmers in the water, find someone's feet, stick on it. Transition advice. Transition's up here, okay? And this is one of the very peculiar things about Mallorca. Because it's such a popular race, the transitions are very long. There are 70.3 specific transition rules where you have to put things in certain bags, where there's a swim to bike bag, there's a bike to run bag, and you have to rack them in a certain area. But also, and the blue bag is your swim to bike bag. So when you come out of the water, you'll run down here, and it's a good bit actually. I think it's around 300 meters or so, but then you come to transition, which is very long because it's on one side of the street and there's around 4,000 bikes. So if you imagine, it takes up a lot of the street. So it's going to be long, it's going to be busy. So what you need to do when you're checking in and registering and racking your bike, you need to find a landmark where you will be able to find your bike. Because remember, you're coming out of the water, you're disorientated a little bit, you've kind of had the swim of your life. You go, cool, I am a rock star. Where's my bike? And you go, oh, I can't remember. And now there's thousands of bikes to choose from. You don't get to choose, you have to find your own. So there's lots of landmarks, there's different colored buildings, there's bus shelters. There's my bike last time was right beside one of the bus shelters and right beside a bench. So I knew, okay, come in that halfway up the transition and beside the bench. So just be ready for that. As I said, there's the transition bags that you need to know what to put in them and where to go. Again, I've got a little video on my YouTube channel that takes you through and tells you what to put in whatever bag, etc. That will help you there. But swim, beautiful, simple, up, down, horseshoe. Transition's gonna be long, but at this stage, you've got your bike and we're heading on the bike course. Now, again, it's a phenomenal cycle. The roads are perfect, but it has 4 very distinct areas, okay? And you need to attack them accordingly. Break it into 4 parts, right? Part 1 is around 30k or so, and it's nice and flat. And you're on the bike, you're on your aero bars, or you're on the hoods, and you're thinking you're great. This is the time to conserve your energy. Take on board some fuel. You've just swam for whatever 30+ minutes you'll need, and you wouldn't be able to eat during that. Make sure you get on some fuel and some liquids, and just remember you've got this bad boy coming. Second part of it is your climb, and it is around 9 to 10 kilometers worth of climbing, which sounds scary, but be reassured, it's not. None of it is really punchy. It's 6 to 7% gradient. So you get into like the small ring and you just spin your legs and you'll go up the hill. There'll be lots of people on it. Do be aware of where people are. It's a long drag of a climb and it will take a while. And there's a false flat in there at one point. Think, ooh, I'm finished. And I go, nope, a little bit more. So just get ready for that. Use the time to stretch out your back, take on board liquid, etc. And appreciate the views. There's some stunning scenery around here. Now, the third part of it is our descent, okay? This is where your gravity becomes your friend, and you get to go down, down 10K again on nice smooth roads, but there are some switchbacks. Switchbacks are when the road turns back on itself, etc., etc. So it can be a bit nerve-wracking. I would advise caution here, even feathering your brakes or just gently pressing your brakes, you will average 35, 40K kilometers down per hour going down the descent. If you're not a good descender, do not chase speed at the risk, because there's lots of people around and lots of people taking different lines. Enjoy the descent, be very aware where people are, and just take it a little bit conservatively. The last part is you've got around 40 kilometers home, okay? And it's nice and flat. There's no more climbing. You can spin out your legs and you can get down in the aero bars and just really push for home. That's the really enjoyable part of the race for me. Things to remember: fuel, as we talked about, your strategy there. When you're going to eat, how are you going to eat it, what you're going to eat. Pace. It's, as I said, easy out, steady climb, cautious descent, push a little bit at the end. Communicate. There's got lots of, again, one of the features of 70.3 Mallorca is loads of cyclists out there because it's such a popular race. But you need to be making sure that they know where you are. If you're overtaking someone, you tell them, I'm coming on your left. Which side do we overtake? Tell them you're coming and you're overtaking, especially on the descents. Talk. No one is going to give out to you for actually telling you that you're overtaking them. Everyone needs to know what they're at. All about being situationally aware. Okay. Transition advice. Strangely enough, we now have a red bag, which is our bike to run. And let's remember, it is long. The transition is long again. And yeah, so you're going to be running through the same sort of distance, racking your bike, getting your red bag, putting stashing your helmet, stashing your bike shoes, etc. But remember, it is going to be long. But it's the same for everyone, so it's not that anyone's at a particular disadvantage. So we're on the run. Now, 3 loops. The first loop I always so 3 by 7 through the village, through kind of some suburban areas, loads of support, loads of energy, fabulous. First loop, this is my advice to you: conserve energy. You're going to be off the bike, you're thinking, had a fab swim, just PB'd my 90K in the bike, I'm a rock star, and you go off like a scalded cat, and then your legs start falling off in the second lap. Hold back the first loop. Get to know the road surface. Get to know what the crowds are. Second lap. Okay, I've got it going. Legs are good. I've got my fuel on board. I'm keeping my core temperature down, splashing water on my head. This is good. Hold that pace. And then the third lap, 7K. You've done this so many times in training. Push for home. Take it home and just actually feed off the crowd energy and start catching your club mates, start catching random people and having a bit of conversation with them. Have some fun out there. Fuel. Remember, back to what I said, you on the bike you'll eat more because you've been fueling for this run as well, but you'll need to keep your energy topped up as well. Pace, as we said, first loop, conserve. Second, get into that stride. Third, go for it. The crowds are fab. There's loads of people there. Half the people are there on holidays and have nothing to do with IRONMAN, but they're so into it and they're out there drinking and shouting all the rest, which is great crack. Have your finish lines move ready. Do not wipe the tears, snot, energy gels off your face. Make sure you have you get ready, and don't look at your Garmin when you're going over the finish line, because that's when to take the picture. Don't have just you looking at your watch. Get ready to Usain Bolt. Get ready to pump the air, pounce the chest, whatever you need. Okay, this is, you've worked hard for this, you've trained for this. Enjoy the moment. Okay, the mental game. This is what will happen to athletes on the last 2 weeks, and also what will happen to them on race day. Their head will pop off. Why? Because suddenly you have all these negative doubts and, oh, I'm not ready for it. Especially when you go to the expo, when you see, my God, that guy, they're all so much skinnier and taller and stronger looking, and they've all got the gear and they've got finisher t-shirts. I don't deserve to be here. Absolute rubbish. You got to deal with these, and everyone goes through it. I'm going to whatever my 10th Ironman this weekend, and I guarantee I'll have those fears, and I'll look, wow, they all look taller than me. Well, they always do look taller than me, but they all look more chiseled than me, and wow, maybe they've done more training. Those are negative thoughts which you're going to have to deal with, but we park them. As I talk about 30-70 here, when any of the athletes I train, I talk to them when they take on an Ironman journey, and I say, look, this is going to be, when you're training, it's going to be 70% physical and 30% mental. And they go, well, what do you mean? 70% will actually be the hard work and sort of doing the hard yards. Was it completing the runs, running hard in tempo, etc., etc. But what happened? You also have the 30% where the alarm clock goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Go, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, it's dark, it's cold. Oh, la 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 la. That's you having those mental battles early, where you sort of go, you know what, I want to do this. I've told myself I'm going to do it. So when you're training, it's 70% physical, it's 30% mental. Ironically, on race day, it's 30% physical because you've done the training, you're fit, you've covered the distance, you've done your long runs, you've done your long bikes. 70% is you just having it's mental, and you go like, I don't know if I can do this. There's loads of people passing me on the bike. This is really hard. It's hot. I can't have enough fuel. Right. How do you overcome those? First thing is you got to remind yourself of your why. You signed up for this race, this massive challenge, all those months back. Why did you do it? No one made you do it. You sort of go, is it because you gave yourself a personal challenge? Is it because you want to get yourself in the best shape you could be? Is it because you want to inspire your children? Are you doing it in memory of a loved one? If that was your why, you need to cash back, think back. Remember, that why hasn't changed. All that's happened is the challenge is just a little bit closer, and you got to take it on. Remind yourself of how far you've come. Look at your training logs, your training peaks, talk to your friends about what you've done in terms of that. Like, you will have covered milestone distances you've never done before. Maybe in training you ran your first ever half marathon. Maybe it's the first time you went over 50k in a bike. Maybe the first time you swam for an hour in the pool. These are things that mean that you are so ready, and you're just ready for this challenge, and you've got to start believing in yourself. Visualize and prepare mentally. So what I talk about here is, again, in taper, when you're sitting around wondering why you're not doing your training, think about, what's a swim start going to look like? Watch things on YouTube. Go like, wow, that looks scary. It looks very packed in the water. What am I going to do? Move over to the left, stay out of the way. Oh wow, that hill looks really, really, really tough. Really, really long? What am I going to do? Okay, I'll focus on just getting to that next lamppost. I'll just focus on getting, and you prepare yourself mentally on that. Think through the different scenarios. Think through how you're going to overcome them. And by the way, visualize the finish line. And that's one of the things you've got to do in the couple of days when you register. Go to the red carpet, look at it, see the finish line, see the chute, and go, I'm going to go up there. And you actually just remember that when things are getting tough, and it will get tough. But these are how we prepare mentally. Have mantras for each discipline. A mantra is a powerful statement that just essentially jolts you back to reality and knocks the little devil off your shoulder saying, you cannot do this. I have one for each discipline. So, for example, on the swim, when I'm getting like, oh, there's loads of swimmers around, I don't think I'm on the pace, I start repeating to myself in my head, find feet, which means I need to swim behind someone to draft off them. And it just goes, okay, right, that puts me back in the moment. Cool, that's what I'm drafting off someone, I'm working on my stroke. Perfect. On the bike, as I said, you're going to be climbing or descending. You go like, okay, for me, it's aero, which means get down, make yourself small, concentrate on a smooth pedal stroke. And again, that focuses me. Whenever I'm like, oh, this hill is killing me, it's just, no, solid. Aero. On the run, I talk to myself about slowly catch, powerfully past. So there's someone in front of me, I like to just gradually gain up on them and then pass strong. Mainly because then they think I'm much stronger than I actually feel and they won't chase. But again, these are things that I will do. I also recommend, if you have, on the run specifically, dedicate each kilometer to someone, or a section of the race to yourself, to someone that will not allow you to quit. I dedicate whatever the first kilometers from my sister. First, it was the second ones from my niece. La 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 la. And it just means, you know what, I'm not letting them down in this. I'm not stopping. I'm not walking. I'm going to keep moving forward because this is dedicated. If I do this, I let down Amanda, my sister. La la la. And to the point where I take it to a whole new level for the last 6 kilometers of the run. I go, right, kilometers. The last 3 kilometers are from my mom, who passed away, and the previous 3 are from my dad, who passed away. And I go, you know what? These are for them. I have to do well here. I am not letting myself crumple. I'm going to finish strong because I know they're watching. So that really spurs me on. Have something like that in the back of your mind. As I said, if you're dedicated to a loved one, if there's someone that you're trying to inspire, like your kids, go, I'm dedicating this to my son, my daughter, my wife, my partner, whoever, have that in the back of mind. It's very hard to give up on yourself physically or mentally when you're doing it for someone else. Have that in mind. And that's what we do mentally. Okay, phew. Preparing to travel and checklist. As I said, you're going to be doing in taper. You're going to have more time than you've had in a good while. So these are some things I recommend you do. Check your logistics and verify. Make sure your flight's booked, your hotel set up, you know where you're going to transfer. I am absolutely banned from doing any of the logistics when we travel to races, myself and my travel partners, because I have managed to book myself in, actually in Mallorca, I booked on the wrong side of the island, and because it was left up to me, and I did the same in Italy. I went to the wrong city. So no one trusts me to do logistics. But if you have done your logistics, make sure you do it, you check it, you make sure ring up, make sure the flight's there. Remove all stress from the future rest. What you want to be doing is focusing 100% on nailing this 70.3 challenge. And again, minimizing stress. Plan out your arrival time, your key events, what time's registration open at, what time's bike check-in at, how close are you to the venue, do you need to build in travel time? Again, the athlete guide will help you on this. Another thing I do is book a bike service prior to travel. You will have done some countless miles on your bike. Just, you know, it's very nice to have it tuned up and they said the chains all working well, the brakes are all working well, and it's just one less thing to worry about. Know what you need to pack and plan. Bike is going in the bike box, or are you going with tri-bike transport, or how that's working. Make sure you've got that planned out as well. Actually, I also have a really cool packing checklist as well, if people would like that, because I've just literally done it. When I go through, there's all the swim bits. These are things you should do 2 days beforehand, etc., etc. So if people want that, if you email me at info@SmartEnduranceSolutions.com, I'll ping that over to you. Also, and just travel restrictions check. If you're coming over, do you need visas? Do you need vaccination certs? All this sort of stuff. Just go through that and make sure you don't fall afoul of something just really simple towards the end. Packing checklist. I've talked about this. I won't go into too much detail, but you need a separate list for a swim, bike, run, and other ones. Your ID code, for example. You need ID, you need your passport to travel, but also to register. You need your your QR code, which Ironman will email out to you. I got mine for Texas there. Your race license, if you're if you need that. I need to bring my Triathlon Ireland race license with me, chargers for your Garmin, etc., suntan lotion. And also, when you're doing your checklist, this is in my checklist, get your training gear will be involved. Remember, you're going to be doing some last tune-up sessions, last minute bike check, etc. Okay, and strangely enough, as I still managed to plug my YouTube channel. By the way, yeah, Coach Steve Moody, please subscribe. I need all the numbers I can get. I have a little video which goes through how to pack things, what to pack, which works really nicely with the packing checklist. And that is me. Thank you very, very much for listening. I hope to God people are still here. Okay.
Thank you very much, Steven.
Phew. All right.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Okay. I've stopped sharing, haven't I? Okay, so anything.
That's perfect. Okay. So let's. Oh, there is some noise incoming. Wait. Okay, everything should be fine now. Okay. We have a few questions here on the chat. So let me read them for you, and you can go on and answering them if that's fine for you. Okay.
Yes.
So first question we have back from the beginning of the presentation. Okay, actually first, Jorn, I think I'm pronouncing that right. He had the raise hand on the chat previously. So maybe Jorn, if you want to, you mute yourself and ask the question if you're still here. Okay, seems that he's not with us. So let's go and go through the chat questions. So Alex, he's asking us that there are blogs out there that suggest sticking to eating carbs and not consuming protein slash fats. Any advice on this?
Yeah, no, you're again, we'll kind of depend on what your stomach can will digest. Most of these bars are whatever, they're very carb heavy, but there's some element of protein on it. Carbs are what you need to fuel. They'll top up your glycogen stores. Protein, it's more of a longer term thing, and fats. So whilst you'll never get anything that's just pure carb, it doesn't matter if you take on board any protein and fats at the same time. It's not going to do you a massive amount of good, but all you're looking for is instant energy for the whatever 5, 6, 7 hours you're going to be out there all day.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. We also have Mark, who is a race director. He's been having some issues with the connection, so he's answering all the race-related questions on the chat directly. So if you have any race question, he will be answering them through the chat. Okay. Then we have a question from Marwan, funny one. He asked us, if we are on the bike and we gotta go, do we just go?
Sorry, just there's okay. It is the okay. Two things here is that if you need to go on the bike, one, if you are caught public urinating by the marshals, you can get disqualified. So I would wait till you get to a portaloo to do that. So I'm not recommending. There are people asking whether or not they pee on the bike. I am not a fan of it because why? Because it wrecks your expensive bike, and you get the smell of pee in your shoes the entire time. So look, another good thing about Mallorca is there's tons of portaloos along the in the T1. There's a couple of portaloos I think at the top of the hill. I'm not too sure. I have to remember, but then they're on course. And again, check the athlete guide for that. I advise get to a portaloo, stop, and just use that. You can pee in your bike if you want. I wouldn't. I really like my P5.
Okay. We have a question from Jamie. He or she is asking us, do you use the same bike shades as your running shades typically?
You can, but I don't, because what I have is I have a TT helmet which has a visor. But yeah, it doesn't really matter as long as they're comfortable and they're not going to bounce on your face. Bike shades are as good as on the run. But the thing is, do they sit comfortably? As in with the running, there's a lot more movement. So if they're bouncing up and down and the jaw breakers, they can hurt your nose. So yes, you can. Bound to comfort.
Okay. We have a question from JB. The question is, can you explain the difference in the route here and the GPX file? Says 850 meters gain here, but over 1,000 on the GPX file.
No, I can't, because I don't know where that GPX file came from, and that'd be a more question. And again, sometimes, by the way, sometimes Garmin's go the elevation can get a bit skewy. whatever they say in the race brief is going to be true.
Okay, I think we have another question that is for Mark, but just in case, it's, are transition bags provided? Asks Lawrence.
Yes, transition bag. That's what, as I said, part of the very specific nature of 70.3 and Ironman racing. You will get a red bag, a blue bag, red bag, and a white bag. Blue is swim to bike, red is bike to run, white is after close. Again, check out my video on the YouTube. It shows you what you put in them and all the rest, and it's pretty cool. And I've got a lot of likes. I think almost like a couple of hundred on that.
Yeah, so we have a few questions from different people asking on the checklist. And for these people, we also recommend going to Steve's YouTube channel, where he has a YouTube video explaining all the checklist in detail, right?
Yeah, and anyone, I put up my email address there as well. So if people ping me there, email me, I will send out that checklist tomorrow morning or so, later. It's getting late here in Ireland. So it's info@SmartEnduranceSolutions.com. It was in the chat, and I think also if you want, and then I will send out links to the transition bag video, the Loctite laces bag video, the nutrition video. You can all go nuts with it.
Yeah, some people asking about writing the email on the chat. We will do that later at the end, so everyone has it. To continue, Dan has a question. I had COVID over Easter and had to stop training for 8 days. Back at it last weekend with a good break. Should I hold back a bit on the long sessions until 100%?
Yes, one of the key things you got to do now, mate, is you got to listen to your body. If you've been training well and you've built up a lot of good base fitness, I presume, before this hit, your big risk is that you kind of you turn a quick recovery into something that's kind of longer out. I would take it very easy for the next couple of weeks and back yourself on the training you've banked already.
Okay, let me see, because Mark is also answering some questions there.
Okay.
Okay. So Chris is asking, how busy / crowded is the swim part? Is the swim start? Probably be. You said only 5 go at the same time. How long is the gap between swim groups? Do you know? I think
5 to 10 seconds between each. So you've plenty of time. It's not like a mass start. All the volunteers are very good. They hold their arms together. They count to, I think, 5 seconds and let it go. So there's a chance if you all kind of ease into the water, and then there's a chance to catch up with the faster swimmer, do a bit of a burst, catch up with some swimmers and draft off those bad boys.
Okay, we have a question about the hydration on the bike course. Martin asked, is it a bottle exchange or refill system?
It's a bottle exchange. So what will happen is when you come into the aid stations, there will be a litter zone. Now, by the way, this is key. Do not chuck your bottles anywhere on the course, because if you get pinged by marshals, you will get DQ'd. There's 2 things, stupid things you get to ruin your day for: getting caught urinating in the course and littering the beautiful Spanish countryside. So there's a litter zone when you come in, and then you can chuck your bottles there. What I advise is you empty your bottle, chuck it. You will be handed out, bottles of, and the volunteers will reach out and they'll sort of go, ESO, water, Coke, and you point at them. My tip: point at the volunteer and let them know that you're coming for that bottle. You go, come in, grab the bottle, and then the bottles are normally they're designed to fit into a standard bottle cage. So you just grab in. So when you're coming up to the aid station, finish off your bottle. If it's water, squash it on your head, cool down your core temperature a bit, chuck it into the litter zone, get the new bottle into the bottle cage, and off you go. So you will end up with 3 new bottles guaranteed.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Another question from James. Tips on timing and content of meals or hydration night before on breakfast?
Yeah, again, people talk about carbo loading the nights and day before. I don't agree with it, because essentially what I feel is you end up bloated. People try to eat twice their body weight in pasta and and they just feel bloated. I eat a hearty meal. I typically will go for something very simple in case you might get it anything. Don't be going for oysters, etc. the night before. They can go wrong. Spaghetti bolognese, sort of you know, a spag bol, lasagna, that sort of stuff, or anything kind of carb heavy. Eat early in the day, because you're going to try and go to sleep early, because you'll be up before 9, because you have an early start in the morning. I get up 4 hours before race start, and I'm always close enough to transition. I will have my porridge and my peanut butter and my bagel and my fruit at that stage, and to get in a big feed for the breakfast. And by the way, I bring my own porridge. I bring my own kind of peanut butter, because I know I don't trust anything new on race day. Get a big fill in around 3-4 hours before race start, and then I have things to graze on as I go along. I have bananas with me. I have energy bars. So I'm constantly eating before I start. So decent meal the night before. Don't overdo it. Good hearty breakfast, and then have things to eat as you're going along.
Thank you, Steven. We have a question here about Chris. He's saying that, any tips for a nervous swimmer? Do you start fast and full of adrenaline, or best to start slow, like on the run, and stay calm if possible?
Second, you do not start fast, because what will happen is you'll start breathing heavily, and you'll start sort of potentially could hyperventilate, and you'll feel that like the wetsuit is crushing your chest. If a nervous swimmer, get to the back of the corral, go in your own time. Find a nice spot where there's nice empty open water, smooth, easy strokes. This is your day. This is your reward. Control your breathing. Nice steady strokes. Stay wide if you want to. Get away from the messing. If you don't want to draft and you feel you just want to get around the course, take it all there. Have a nice calming rhythm in your head, as instead of sing a song in your head, sing your favorite song and all the rest. Get yourself calm. You are swimming for 40+ minutes. You do not need to panic. You got this. You've done the time in the pool. You've done the time and you've done the distance. And you have a wetsuit, makes you more buoyant. There's lots of kayaks. There's everyone around. All the safety precautions are there. Take your time. Control your breathing and enjoy your day.
So LD, he's asking about what type of wetsuit to use, if 3 millimeters or 5 millimeters, since the water is going to be 17 degrees.
I only have the one type of wetsuit. I have 5 millimeters, because I tend to go races with a bit colder. Yeah. 3 or 5 will work, but as I said, it's what you have. If you have, I actually don't have to select from, but even a slightly thinner wetsuit's not going to be too bad. Like the 5 mils are more kind of surfer wetsuits, but yeah, it should be fine.
Okay. Let me see if there are more questions. I don't.
One there from Ed. If I don't wear a tri-suit, how can I get changed? There typically is changing tents as well, if I remember correctly. So you can get in and you can grab your bag and you go in and you put a towel around yourself and all the rest, and you change off, you take off your togs, put on your cycling bibs, put on your cycling top. Make sure everything's dry, by the way, and because if you are going to do that, the benefit is washing off the salt water from yourself. So grab a bottle of water, splash yourself off. Dry yourself off with a towel, and make sure everything's dry, and off you go. And put suntan lotion on, because it will be hot, because Mallorca likes to give us a suntan.
So I think that's all. If anyone has a last minute question, it's your time now. If not, okay, here. What are the difference, if any, between bike socks or running socks?
For me, I do have cycling specific socks that I use just because they're the ones I cycle in. I have miles or more run socks. There's a little bit more padding in it, if anything, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to notice on the day. It's what you've got, pal. If it's nice and comfortable and what you've trained in, use it.
Jamie again, what's the factor sun cream do you recommend?
Well, it depends on everyone in terms of I tan very well, so I actually only use factor 30. But if you're nice, and most of my friends are nice pasty white Irish guys who actually explode in the sun, so they use factor 40 plus. Depends on if you tan well, factor 30. One thing I will recommend is, by the way, and I learned this from painful experience, when you're putting on your suntan lotion, I tend not to put it on my forehead, because what happened with me once, all the sweat and all the suntan lotion went into my eyes, and it was stung for like half an hour. So do put it all around your ears, your face, and arms, and all that stuff, but keep away from the forehead because it can sweat into your eyes, and that can be quite painful. And there's another one there. What's the protocol if you get injured out far in the back? How do you get back? Typically, they will have what they call a broom wagon, where they sweep the course, and they come along and they pick up any injured cyclist, or and there's motor support. So if you get stuck out there, you will get picked up. We're not going to leave you out there to end up part of the furniture.
Yeah. Any tips for coping with the heat? Since Min is training in Scotland, so yeah.
Well, clearly you need to move to Spain. No, but yeah, heat management is key on this sort of race, especially for us lads. Hydration is key in terms of keeping on top of your water. In terms of the aid stations, be clever how you use liquid to keep your core temperature down. I typically will take one bottle for myself, put it in I'll take another bottle, pour it over my head, and allow that to keep my core temperature down. Helmet on the bike is key if you have vents, because that will allow heat in and heat out. And on as I said, on the bike is not as much because there's wind and you don't notice it. On the run, try to run in shaded areas. Arm coolers are an option as well. Make sure you have plenty of sun cream on. And again, never miss an aid station. Half a bottle, a good sip of water to cool your core temperature, splash of water on top of your head, cool it all down. They've got sponges as well. Sponges are gift. You put them down your front of your top, run along, and then every now and you press there, and it releases lovely kind of cold water down into your nether regions, which is beautiful at that time of day.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one. Yeah. Oh, number belt needed on the bike too, or just on the run? I believe they changed the rule on this. Yes, but you need it on both. No, you need it on both in case there's a problem, because as your emergency contact details. So yes, you need a number belt on the bike, which will need to be shown to the back, so the number will be able to show at the back. And then on the run, you move it to the front. That's why you want a race belt. You can turn it around. So yes, you will need it both on run and bike.
Yeah, and last question from Brian. For the run, as it's going to be warm, is it worth changing out of your tri-suit?
Again, it depends. As I said, Brian, for me, I always do. I race and train and tri-suit all the time. The benefit there, and when you run, it's not hot. You're going to get wet and sweaty soon. All right, so actually changing into a dry top and dry pair of shorts, that will run out of time. That will be sweaty either by pouring water on yourself or sweat within, I'd say, 5 kilometers. For me, I'd stick in a tri-suit. The only thing I would consider is arm coolers, which again just help to keep the heat out. So that's your answer, Brian. Run a tri-suit. It's quicker, as you save time in transition, and then you catch your club mates and you win.
Last 2 ones I see here. Put the gels on race belt.
I'm gonna a little flippant here, because I know the race director's here. I did do that before, but then I realized that Morton gels are really expensive, and they have loads of them at the aid station. So I like to think I get my money back from Ironman by eating as many of their Morton gels on the run course. So I don't put any gels, and the aid stations, and they're every 2 kilometers or something like that. So you just got to last at the aid station, and then you're not carrying anything heavy. And listen, you're getting some money back out of Ironman, which that doesn't happen that often. Sorry, guys.
And Yeah, last one was answered by Mark on the chat. So that's all. Thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. For all the folks out here, anything, any question you have, you can email him. He put his email address on the chat, and also for race related wonderings, you have the athlete guide on the website. And if you want to see again the webinar, it will be uploaded in the Steven YouTube channel. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much for the opportunity, guys, Macho and Mark. I hope that was useful. I just got to say, as I said, people, there's my email address. Do subscribe, email me, and I'll send out the checklist. I'll send out a list of the YouTube videos. Please do visit and subscribe. And by the way, guys, have a cool 30 days training. It's an absolute epic race. The guys put on such a good show. It is brilliant. And again, I'm really disappointed I'm not going to be there this year, but I guarantee I'm going to go there next year. Have a superb race day experience. You've worked hard. You've got another 2 weeks to push hard, and you taper, and then just enjoy the Spanish hospitality, enjoy the beauty, the beautiful views, the water, and high five everyone when you're doing the finish shoot, because that is the best fun ever.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thanks, guys.
See you all in Mallorca. Bye bye.
Adios.